My name is Laura Kapp. I'm from Ashland, and I am chairing the Chautauqua Committee, and I also serve as a board member of Humanities Nebraska. Thank you. Thanks. And now we're going to start off with a special presentation on 1950s fashion from Sue McLain, who is over here on the stage. Who is looking beautiful, as are so many of you. Thank you for dressing up for this weekend. It's super fun. Sue is the owner of Yesterday's Lady, a vintage fashion museum and store in Beatrice. And she's been traveling the Midwest since 1991, sharing her extensive collection of clothing from 1840 through 1980, and teaching groups about the history of fashion. Sue has been collecting fashions since 1985, and they are currently housed in an 1887 historic building in downtown Beatrice. Her collection is so large, she can do multiple presentations, each focused on a particular type of clothing, such as beachwear, evening wear, or lingerie. Sue is a popular member of the Humanities Nebraska Speakers Bureau, and not only because of the last type of program that she can host. And so the Humanities Nebraska Speakers Bureau, if you're unfamiliar with it, is just a catalog of speakers that you can book at your local libraries or for your local events, and they can come and give educational programming, and it's a really cool, it's one of the many things that Humanities Nebraska does for the state. So please help me in welcoming Sue McLain.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here in Ashland tonight and to be part of the 2021 Chautauqua. I do have a large collection of vintage clothes. It starts in 1840 and goes all the way through the 1980s. And I do a lot of presentations, and I also do tours of my museum, and I always get asked, well, what's your favorite era? It's the 1950s. There's something about the 1950s, I just am drawn to it. Maybe because I was born in the 50s, I don't know, but I love the clothes from that time period. And when you think about this time period, it was happy. People were happy, and it reflected in the clothing. America was celebrating. They won the war. Families were back together. And in 1947, Christian Dior came out with a new look. And the shops, the fashion houses in Paris started opening their doors again because they had closed their doors during the war. And they went crazy with material because there was so much rationing of material during the war that after the war they just went crazy. So the big circle skirts became very popular. There was actually two silhouettes. And our first model is Addie, and she's wearing a shirtwaist dress from that early 1950s. And I love the light pink, almost a mauve color, but it's shirtwaist with the buttons, the big buttons down the front. The clothing at this time period was very feminine, very soft, and charming. As you'll see, all these wonderful girls are very charming and, of course, classy. And you're really going to see, yes, thank you, Addie. I didn't make the girls wear gloves tonight, but most of the ladies at this time period would have had a matching ensemble. They would have had a hat, gloves, shoes, everything to match. But she looks wonderful. And of course, to get these silhouettes, you had to wear different undergarments. The foundation was very important. And of course, crinolines. A lot of the girls have crinolines on. And these crinolines would be heavily starched, or some of them use sugar water to get them really full. And girls would wear 2 to 3 crinolines underneath their dresses to get them very full. Now, the other silhouette that you better wear your girdle so you don't jiggle when you wiggle. But dresses like this were very popular, very high-end. And of course, you think, what did you wear under that? And The girdle. So imagine if this was 1950 and you were all sitting there with your girdles on, ladies. It wouldn't be a lot of fun. In fact, they had girdles like this, and then they had the rubber girdle. I've heard stories about this. You had to use talcum powder to get it on and to take it off. And it's made of rubber, and it feels like a rubber band. And one lady said, oh, I was a newlywed. We got married, and my husband took me to some baseball games in Nebraska in the middle of summer. And I wore my rubber girdle because I wanted to look nice, because you dressed up. Everybody dressed up back then. And she said, bathroom. So we stopped at a gas station. She went inside, didn't come out. And finally her husband went in and said, what's wrong? She goes, I can't get my girdle off. So he pulled out his pocket knife and he cut it off, and he said, you're never wearing that thing again. So I'm glad we don't have these on today, but that's the foundation that they needed to get the silhouettes that they wanted at this time period. And our next model is Holly. And we not only have the shirtwaist dresses, the full skirts, but we also have synthetic fabrics, and nylon had came out in the 30s, and they start using a lot of nylon for undergarments, but also for dresses. And this is such a wonderful, fun little floral dresses, because floral dresses were really popular then also. And of course she's carrying her gloves, and the belt kind of helps cinch in that dress to give it that fullness that you want, and that tiny waist. You know, they're after that little waist. But this would have been a perfect summer dress for shopping. Okay, Holly, can you imagine shopping in that today? But you dressed up. You went to Omaha, to Lincoln to shop, and you dressed up in heels and a dress and nylons. That's another thing. I didn't make the girls put their stockings on today, but that was another thing that everybody had to wear, was the nylons. Now, we have a very special person with us tonight. Jancy. Did I say it right? Janice. She is wearing her father's Army uniform from the first part of the 50s, which was during the Korean War. His name was Ron Goodridge. And to be able to wear this, the Eisenhower jacket, I mean, that was a big deal to have jackets like that. But she looks absolutely wonderful. I think her father would be very proud to see her wearing it today. So, thank you. And it's wool. Can you imagine wearing a whole wool uniform? No, it'd be really hot. And he was a corporal also during this time period. Very beautiful. Thank you. And thank your father for serving. Thank you. Now, I tried to find clothes that were really summer and lightweight, and our next model is Taylor. And she's wearing a wonderful little summer dress that would have been perfect for church or for a summer wedding. And so I love the dotted Swiss, and again, we have the little hat, the kind of a pie crust shaped hat that was really popular. Very soft, very feminine, and very charming. Just what the designers were looking for, just what the young ladies were looking for. Now, you would have seen a dress like this in 17 magazine. And if it was in 17 magazine, that's what every young girl wanted to wear, was something out of 17 magazine. But she looks beautiful. And she even has little crocheted gloves that would go along with her little outfit. Thank you, Taylor. Now, the 1950s was really the first time that designers started to design for the teenagers. And so it was the first time teenagers, they didn't want to look like their mothers. So department stores started having special sections just in the department store that were for the teenager. And of course, we have Adeline, and she is wearing and a very iconic skirt from that time period, the poodle skirt. And then she has a little nylon blouse, too, that would have been wonderful for summer wear, but her little poodle skirt. And you wonder, who invented the poodle skirt? Well, Julie Lynn Charlotte was an actress and a singer in the 1950s. She didn't have a lot of money. She was married. Can you show them your wonderful poodles on there? She didn't have a lot of money. She got invited to a Christmas party, and she thought, what am I going to wear? She couldn't sew very good either. And so her mom had access. Thank you, Adeline. Her mom had accent to, I can't even talk. Access to felt material. So she took that and she got a big piece of felt. She cut a big circle out of it. And she thought, I want to make it festive. So she put a Christmas theme on the skirt. And she went to the party, and guess what? Everybody loved her skirt, and she started selling them. But it changed from just the Christmas theme, so she had different ones. And you wonder, well, how come the poodle became so popular? Well, her first dog that she put on a skirt was Dachshund. Does anybody have some Dachshunds? Well, that was the first dogs on the skirt. There were 3 of them. There was a boy Dachshund and 2 girls. And one girl was snooty. She had her nose up in the air. The other girl was very flirty. And the little boy dog wanted to be by that little flirty dog, the little flirty girl, but their leashes got tangled up, and he ended up by the snooty girl. And so people Dachshunds weren't the popular thing. Poodles were the popular thing. So she switched from a Dachshund to a poodle. So that's how we come up with the poodle skirts. But they used lots of different things to put on their skirts at this time period. And since the little skirt like that, they also wore sweater sets like this. The beaded sweaters were so popular. The 2-piece, the twin sets were popular. Detachable collars, and of course the little sweater clips. And another fun thing the girls would do was wear their sweaters backwards. Their little cardigans, they'd button up the back. And of course, saddle shoes, which, Adeline, can you come back up and show them your wonderful saddle shoes? And her little, she did not know what bobby socks were. So we had to have a little lesson, but you can see her wonderful saddle shoes, which were really popular back then, and her little socks. And another thing the girls did, and they'd wear them like ankle bracelets around their ankle, which I thought was really fun. Thank you. And of course, the pencil skirt. We had those 2 silhouettes, the big full circle skirt and then the pencil skirt. Now, one lady, to get that fullness to their skirt, they would wear their crinolines, and they would starch them, and they'd use also sugar water. And one lady said, I use sugar water, and my skirt was clear out to here, and I walked to school, and I thought I was really something because my skirt was really full. Till I got to the classroom, and I tried to get to my desk, and she couldn't get through the aisle, and she said she had to push it down. And then guess what? She sat in her desk, and her whole skirt came up, so she's pushing her skirt down, and then the sugar started breaking down. So she had these white flakes all over her legs. So then she kept getting teased. Everybody teased her all day. She had dandruff. But she said the worst thing happened when she walked home from school. It started to rain. She said by the time she got home, she was a sticky mess, that she never did that again. But a lot of the girls did that. And some of the girls said they put it out on the lawn to give it that big look, and it always came in the house with ants in it. So they didn't do that too often either. And this was a time period of travel. And during this time period, family vacations. So can you imagine your whole family climbing in a station wagon, going to Arizona, and no air conditioning? But that's what they did. And our next model is Ansley. And she's wearing a dress that originally came from the Southwest. So people would travel to the Grand Canyon. They would travel to Arizona, and they would see these Navajo women wearing these beautiful colored dresses. And they started thinking, you know what? We want to wear those. Those look really comfortable, and they're fun and bright. You know, kind of like our lives are, fun and bright. These were called squaw dresses. You really can't call them that today, but they were really popular, and they were wonderful for summer because you didn't have to wear the crinolines, and they were full. And they started calling them fiesta dresses and patio dresses because this is the type of dress you would wear in your backyard on your patio for a barbecue. Very fun, kind of that Western. And when you think about TV and what they were watching back then, the Westerns were really popular too, but little dresses like this were perfect for summer. And I love the rickrack. I grew up, my mom made all my clothes, and she put rickrack on everything. But I have a lot of these, and they're just so bright and so fun, and I think you just really feel fun wearing them. So thank you, Ansley. And how do we travel today? We go by air. And we dress comfortably, right? We put on some, I don't know, yoga pants, sweatpants, I don't know, something comfortable to wear on the plane because we know we're going to be gone all day long. Well, back in the 50s, they wore suits. So can you imagine beautiful tailored suits like this? And that's what you wore on the airplanes. That's what you wore for travel. You dressed up. So you not only had your suit on, you had your girdle on all day in an airplane. You had nylons on. You had heels on. You wore a hat, and you wore your gloves. So you really took pride in dressing up. And I think that's one thing I love about the 1950s is ladies really took pride in how they looked. And it's interesting because the guys' clothing becomes more relaxed while the girls' clothing becomes more tailored, more sophisticated, and very classy at this time period. But traveling in a suit today, I don't think you'd see too many people doing that. Now, we're at home. And in the 1950s, you know, it was the era of the family. And women were really encouraged. Young high school girls were encouraged to get married after high school, start a family, no careers. You know, your family was it. Good Housekeeping even came out with an article on how to be a good housewife. You're supposed to make sure in the evening that your children are bathed and clean. Dinner is all in the oven because, you know, your husband's come home and he's tired. He's worked all day long. So you need to make sure the children are quietly playing in their room. Have his favorite drink ready for him. Have his chair ready with a newspaper and his slippers ready. Girls, are you listening to this? I see some of the husbands are going, yeah. But that's what they were encouraged to do. And having parties at home, being a good hostess, was also really important. And of course, house dresses. Women wore house dresses and they wanted to look nice. And make sure too, women, girls, that you have fresh lipstick on and you fix your hair before your husband comes home because you want to look good for him, even though you might have had a tough day taking care of the kids. But aprons were a necessity. And aprons were really something a woman was really proud to wear. She liked being, well, most of them liked being at home and taking care of their house. So aprons like this, and of course this one has the poodle on it, and the fun, bright colors of the house dresses also. But then we have cocktail hour. And I heard you might have a cocktail hour tonight, too. So cocktail time and hosting parties at home where a lady was not afraid to wear her apron, her hostess apron. So our next model is Sarah. And I absolutely love her dress that she has on, the black taffeta. And then we have a red crinoline underneath. But she has this wonderful red apron on to go with her dress. And this this would have been her hostess apron. This is what she would have opened the door and received guests in something like this and been proud. And what's really fun is she would have had matching napkins and matching tablecloth. Everything had to match because that was the big thing in the 1950s. But she looks fabulous. And she has freshly applied lipstick on, too. But thank you. Now we have the resort. You know, people are going on vacation, and it's time to go to the resorts. And swimming. Of course, who loves to go swimming today? And today, oh yeah, today would be a good day to go swimming. And I love the swimming suits from the 50s. They're probably my favorite. Rosemary Reed was the famous swimsuit designer in the 1950s, and she designed suits that were made to accent a woman's figure. She made swimsuits that when a woman put her swimsuit on, or a young girl, she felt good about how she looked. And swimming suits were for sun tanning. They were made for being seen, and this is one of my favorites. And they're made out of the same material as they were making girdles out of, too. So to get into your swimsuit, you had to have a zipper in it. But this is that type of swimsuit. This is for sunbathing. This is for being seen in. Very fun. You were supposed to have 3 swimming suits. Your new swimming suit for everybody to see, your old swimming suit for swimming, and then one just in case you need an extra one. And we have our resort wear. We have Melissa, and she is wearing a little play suit. And this one is so cute. I got a lady that worked in Gold's in Lincoln in the 1950s, bought some wonderful clothes, and her daughter let me get a bunch of them. But this is a little play suit that she could have went swimming in. But this was resort wear, because when you went to a resort, you still dressed up, even though it was a little more casual. But how fun is that? So she could wear her little play suit during the day, but if she went out to eat or wanted to go do something, she had her little matching pencil skirt to go right along with it. Very, very cute. And you could get away with wearing that today. Isn't that? It's adorable. I love the colors. Thank you, Melissa. About clothing was designed for the youth in mind, and I have some dresses in my collection that are absolutely my favorite dresses because of the memories. And that's what's fun. You know, people have kept these things because of the memories. Usually they're really good memories, and you remember, oh, I wore that dress to a barbecue, or on my first date with my husband. Well, prom dresses. When I was a little girl, my mother let me play in her closet. And my favorite dress was her dress that she wore for a bridesmaid dress. And it was the prom dresses, the knit dresses, the netted dresses, stiff dresses. It was strapless. I played in it till it fell apart because I thought I was a princess. Well, we have a princess walking down, and it's Jada. And she's wearing a 1950s prom dress, and it's the pastel colors. A lot of these dresses are all different colors. The pinks, the mint greens, the light blues, yellows, and they're all different colors. And I love to they're the cupcake dresses because they're just so sweet and so beautiful. And of course, your dad didn't let you out of the house in a strapless gown. So a lot of them came with little jackets, little shrug jackets. And some of them even had the netting that went around the shoulders. But so fun, so beautiful. But these were their prom dresses. And of course, the ballerina length was really, really popular in the 50s for the prom dresses. And what's interesting, I had a lady tell me that she came from a family of 3 girls. And their mom made a lot of their clothes. Oh, go ahead and walk through. And the mom made a lot of their clothes. but she said the funny thing is when their mom made their prom dresses, she never sewed zippers in them. And she goes, I don't know if it was too hard. Thank you, Jada. I don't know if it was too hard for her to sew the zipper in or what. So the night of prom, their mom would stitch them in their dress. So they would go to the dance, come home, they'd have to wake their mom up to get the stitches out so they could get out of their dress. And I said, oh, honey, your mom was the smartest mom ever. So, but these are my favorite. I have a lot of them in my shop because I love them because of the memories they bring back. And then from 1946 to 1964 is known as the baby boom years. You know, a lot of families, a lot of kids. And I always think, oh, what did they wear back when they were going to have a baby? And it was two-piece outfits like this. You know, today the girls wear the tight shirts. They're really proud of their baby tummies. Well, back in the 50s, they hid them. And, of course, the smocked top. And I thought this was really cute until I looked at the skirt and went, oh, my. But this is what they wore. It's all open in the front, and it tied on. So you had room for your tummy to grow, so it ties on, your skirt ties on. And I had a lady tell me that she was 9 months pregnant. She was wearing an outfit very similar to this. She was singing away in the choir. And guess what happened? Her strings came undone. And she thought she was going to lose her skirt in church. So she grabbed her tummy and grabbed her skirt, and everybody thought she was going into labor. But this is the type of maternity clothes they wore back in the 50s. And this is another dress from that time period. It's a crocheted dress, and it's made of, you know, the very, very fine baby satin ribbon. Well, that was a big thing to crochet them and make dresses. One lady said it took 80 rolls of ribbon to make a dress like this, but this is that sheath style, very straight up and down style. And the cocktail dresses, and this is that very elegant cocktail dress. This one actually came from New York. Very beautiful. And of course, the little black dress was very popular for cocktail hour. And in 1959, Hawaii becomes a state. And the lady I got this from was named Jerry. And Jerry lived in Hawaii in 1959. And this is a mermaid-style dress, and she said she bought this, and her husband took her dancing by the moonlight on the beach, and she was barefoot, and you know what? It can't get any better than that. But how fun is that? And a lot of these styles are still popular today. You really do see a lot of the styles come back. Now, one of the prized pieces in my collection is this dress from the 1950s. It's a homemade dress, and it was worn by a girl from Kearney, and she went to Eisenhower's inaugural ball, and this is what she wore. And it's almost like curtain material, drapery material. It has the little covered buttons down the back. It even has fingerless gloves, matching gloves. I didn't bring them with me, but she had little gloves that went along with it. And it has panniers on the side. And what it is there's like wire hoops right on the side to make her hips look bigger and her waist look smaller. But this is kind of a very special dress in my collection. And I also forgot to mention that Addie's her little patio dress, not Addie, Ansley, her little patio dress, Mamie Eisenhower was also seen wearing little patio dresses like that, too. That's how popular they were at the time. Well, I'm going to have the girls all come back up, or come back in the front, so you can give them a round of applause. These girls are from Ashland High School, and they're with the Spirit Squad. And this is kind of their community service. How fun, but it's so fun to see them all dressed up. They're beautiful. Wonderful group of girls to work with. And then, of course, we have, I think you guys are sixth grade? Sixth grade, and your mom is the library director, so it's been fun, but they give them a big round. And we also have our soldier here, so, but give them a round of applause, so, yes. And tomorrow morning, I think these girls will be serving breakfast, if I'm right, so, yeah. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
Shoes with different dresses.
Ballerina flats become very popular during the 1950s thanks to Claire McCardle, but they wore heels. A lot of the girls, that was a big thing. And little pumps, but then by the end of the 50s, stilettos become really popular. And of course, the little Barbie shoes. You know, Barbie was born in 1959, and you know, she had those little slip-on shoes. Those were another thing. Clear plastic shoes with rhinestones, especially for the prom dresses, were really important. So, and you see a lot of those styles come back. And of course, the saddle shoes, kid tennis shoes, that was still, you know, the thing. And you'll see sandals, flip-flops, they used to call them thongs. Yeah, thongs. They become really popular in the 50s too, thanks to the guys being over in the Philippines, and they kind of brought those back when they came. So, any other questions? Yes.
What sizes are the dresses that are?
It is hard to tell the sizes, but
If they're marked on the
no, they're not marked. And the sizing back then is so different than our sizing today. And then you'll have to remember, these girls, even in high school, girls as really skinny, they still had to wear girdles because there was not pantyhose. Pantyhose didn't come out until the 60s. So, yeah, they're wearing girdles even though they didn't need them. But anywhere probably from size 2 to probably 6, 8, somewhere in there. So, yeah. And people were smaller back then. They ate different. Girls weren't as active. Remember, they're getting ready to be housewives. So it wasn't until the end of the 50s that really girls wanted to start to be more career-minded. And then, of course, we get in that rebellious 1960s where they're going to untie them aprons and no way are they going to be at home taking care of their husbands. So a lot smaller. And, of course, you're going to keep clothing that is smaller. I mean, that's good memories when you got, oh, I used to wear that. So a lot of those dresses are a lot smaller, but high school girls were really small back then. These girls are great, so. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
I know that many women made clothing for their families. When did ready-to-wear clothing really take off?
In the 50s, it did. But people were it was still more economical to sew at home. But in the 50s, you could find a lot more ready-made. A lot of the fashion houses started to do mass production. And that's thankful because of World War II, that they started making clothing more economical, but really, even back then, they were still making their own clothes. And a lot of the girls took home ec classes, and they knew how to sew their own clothes. So, but yeah, in the 50s. Any other questions, comments? Well, let's give these girls another round of applause because they did a wonderful job.